Dae-ho had never been this nervous in his entire life. He stood in the Grand Hall of Harmony Point, a massive space station that floated between human territory and the mysterious Valorian Empire. The hall was bigger than any building he had ever seen on Earth. Its walls were made of some kind of clear material that showed the stars outside, making it feel like they were standing in the middle of space itself. He pulled at the collar of his formal diplomatic uniform. The fabric felt too tight around his neck. Next to him, Ambassador Tae-sung stood perfectly still, his face calm and professional. Tae-sung had been doing this for 30 years. Dae-ho had been a diplomat for exactly 8 months. "Stop fidgeting," Tae-sung whispered without moving his lips. "They're watching everything we do." Dae-ho forced his hands to his sides. All around them, other human diplomats stood in careful formation. Everyone had been preparing for this moment for 2 years. The Valorians had finally agreed to meet with humanity. Finally agreed to talk about an alliance. The Valorians were the most advanced species anyone had ever encountered. They had technology that seemed like magic. Ships that could cross the galaxy in days. Weapons that could tear apart asteroids. Medicine that could cure any disease. For centuries, they had watched humanity from a distance, never making contact, never responding to messages. Until now, the great doors at the far end of the hall began to open. They made no sound as they moved, just slid apart like water flowing. Dae-ho held his breath. The Valorian delegation entered, and the entire human side of the hall went silent. They were beautiful. There was no other word for it. The Valorians were taller than humans, with long limbs that moved with perfect grace. Their skin looked smooth and seemed to glow with a soft light from within. It shifted through different colors, gentle blues and silvers that flowed across their bodies like water. But what struck Dae-ho most was how they moved. Every single one of them walked in perfect synchronization, their steps matching exactly. Their arms moved in flowing gestures that seemed to be their way of communicating. Not a single movement was wasted. Not a single step was out of place. This was what made them superior. Dae-ho had learned during his training. The Valorians had eliminated all unnecessary emotion from their society thousands of years ago. They believed emotions made people weak, made them make mistakes. So they had trained themselves, generation after generation, to feel nothing, to be perfectly controlled at all times. The delegation moved into the hall like a single organism. Dae-ho counted 20 of them, all moving together, all glowing with that same calm silver blue light. Then she entered. Princess Arya walked through the doors, and Dae-ho forgot how to breathe. She was at the center of the Valorian formation, clearly the most important person in their group. Where the others glowed with soft blues and silvers, her skin shimmered through colors Dae-ho had never seen before. Aurora lights danced across her shoulders. Waves of color flowed down her arms as she moved. She was taller than the others, her movements even more fluid, more perfect. She wore robes that seemed to be made of liquid metal, flowing around her like water, but never touching the ground. Her face was elegant and sharp, with large eyes that seemed to hold the depths of space itself. The Valorian delegation moved through the hall in their perfect formation. The human diplomats had been instructed not to speak, not to move, just to observe this first meeting. This was just the opening ceremony. The real talks would come later. Princess Arya walked closer to where Dae-ho stood. She was scanning the human delegation with those deep eyes, her face showing absolutely nothing. No curiosity, no interest, no emotion at all. Just perfect, controlled observation. Then her eyes met his. Dae-ho didn't know what happened in that moment. Something in her gaze held him frozen. The colors on her skin seemed brighter suddenly, shifting faster. She was so beautiful, it hurt to look at her. So graceful that his chest ached. In all his life, in all the art and nature, and wonder he had ever seen. Nothing had ever struck him the way she did in that moment. The words came out before he could stop them. "You're so beautiful I can't speak," Dao said. He said it in Korean, his native language. But the translator device in his ear automatically converted it to Valorian and broadcast it through the hall's sound system. His voice echoed in the massive space. Everything stopped. Princess Arya froze mid-step. The colors on her skin flickered wildly, flashing through shades of purple and gold and red in rapid bursts. The entire Valorian delegation stopped moving. Every single one of them turned to stare at Day-Ho. The human delegation turned to stare too. Day-Ho saw Ambassador Taesung's face go completely white. Other diplomats looked at him with expressions of pure horror. The silence in the hall was absolute. Day-Ho felt his stomach drop as he realized what he had done. He had spoken during the ceremony. He had broken protocol. He had said something to the princess. Princess Arya was still frozen, her skin colors flashing in a way that looked almost painful. The other Valorians around her were starting to glow with dark reds and oranges, colors that Day-Ho's training told him meant anger and shame. One of the larger Valorians, wearing more elaborate robes, stepped forward. When he spoke, his voice came through the translators as deep and cold. "This meeting is ended. The Valorian Empire withdraws from these proceedings." "Wait," Ambassador Taesung said, stepping forward with his hands raised. "Please, there's been a misunderstanding. This junior diplomat doesn't understand your customs. The princess has been insulted," the Valorian said. "There can be no discussion after such disrespect." Day-Ho wanted to say he hadn't meant any insult. He wanted to apologize. But two human security officers were already moving toward him, their faces grim. Princess Arya still hadn't moved. Her skin was starting to settle into a dark purple color that looked like a bruise. She was staring at Day-Ho with an expression he couldn't read. Then finally she turned away. The Valorian delegation moved as one toward the exit. Their perfect synchronization was back, but there was something angry in their movements now. Something sharp. Ambassador Taesung turned to Day-Ho. The older man's face was a mixture of anger and disappointment that made Day-Ho want to sink through the floor. "Quarters." "Now," Taesung said quietly. "Don't speak to anyone. Don't go anywhere. Just wait." The security officers escorted Day-Ho out of the hall through a side door. As he walked, he could hear the other diplomats starting to talk in urgent, angry whispers. He had just destroyed humanity's best chance at an alliance with the most powerful species in the galaxy. All because he couldn't keep his stupid mouth shut. All because he had told an alien princess she was beautiful. The quarters they locked Day-Ho in were nice enough. A small room with a bed, a desk, and a window that showed the stars. But it felt like a prison cell. He had been here for 6 hours, and nobody had come to talk to him. Nobody had told him what would happen next. He sat on the bed with his head in his hands, replaying the moment over and over. The way Princess Arya had frozen. The way her skin had flashed through all those colors. The horror on Ambassador Taesung's face. A knock on the door made him jump. He stood up as it opened, expecting security, or maybe Taesung coming to yell at him. Instead, G1 walked in. G1 was another junior diplomat, someone Day-Ho had trained with back on Earth. She was carrying a datapad and looked worried. "They're letting you have a visitor?" Day-Ho asked. "I told them I needed to brief you on Valorian culture. For your hearing." G1 sat down at the desk. "Day-Ho, do you have any idea what you did?" "I know I broke protocol. I spoke during the ceremony. It's so much worse than that." G1 activated her datapad, and a hologram appeared showing a Valorian. "Do you know what it means in their culture when someone says another person is beautiful?" Day-Ho shook his head. The Valorians got rid of emotions a long time ago. To them, showing any feeling is a sign of weakness. It means you're not in control. G1 swiped through images on her pad. When you told the princess she was beautiful, you weren't giving her a compliment. You were saying she made you lose control of yourself. You were admitting she had power over you. And by admitting that in public, you shamed her. Because in Valorian culture, if someone loses control because of you, it means you're not disciplined enough. It means you're affecting others in a weak, emotional way. G1 looked at him seriously. You basically told everyone that Princess Aria is so undisciplined that she makes people emotional just by existing. Daiho felt sick. I didn't know. I was just being honest. In human culture, telling someone they're beautiful is, I know. But they don't see it that way. G1 closed her datapad. The Valorians are demanding you be sent back to Earth immediately. They want the summit cancelled. Ambassador Tae-sung is trying to fix this, but it doesn't look good. After G1 left, Daiho couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Princess Aria, about the way her skin had flickered with all those colors. In his training, they had learned that Valorians only showed color changes when they lost control. Perfect Valorians stayed one calm color all the time. He had made her lose control. And apparently, that was the worst thing he could have done. Meanwhile, in the Valorian section of Harmony Point, Princess Aria stood in her private chambers, staring at her reflection. Her skin kept shifting colors, and she couldn't make it stop. Purple, gold, red, pink, colors she hadn't shown since she was a child. Before her training had made her perfect. High Chancellor Vex stood behind her, his skin a disapproving dark orange. You must meditate, Princess. You must regain control. I am trying, Aria said. Her voice came out shaky, which was even more shameful than the colors. Valorians were supposed to speak in perfect, measured tones. No emotion. No variation. That human contaminated you with his words. This is why we avoid emotional species. They spread their weakness like a disease. Vex moved closer. We should leave this station immediately. Return home. The Emperor will understand. But Aria shook her head. She couldn't explain why, but she didn't want to leave. Something about what the human had said kept echoing in her mind. You're so beautiful, I can't speak. In all her 247 years of life, nobody had ever said anything like that to her. Nobody had ever looked at her with such pure, unfiltered wonder. Valorians didn't compliment each other. They acknowledged achievements with formal gestures, nothing more. Beauty was irrelevant. Only perfection mattered, but the way that human had looked at her. Like she was something miraculous. Like the sight of her had overwhelmed him completely. It had made her feel something. Something she didn't have words for in Valorian. Something warm and strange and terrifying. I want to speak with him, Aria heard herself say. Vex's skin flashed dark red. Absolutely not, Princess. Contact with that human would only worsen your condition. You need isolation and meditation, not further contamination. I am your princess, Aria said, forcing her voice steady, and I am ordering you to arrange a meeting. She had never given such a direct order before. It went against everything she had been taught about calm leadership and collective decision-making. But she couldn't stop herself. She needed to understand what had happened. Needed to understand this feeling. The news reached the human delegation 2 hours later. Ambassador Tae-sung called Daiho to a briefing room, where several senior diplomats were waiting. They all looked exhausted and stressed. The princess wants to meet with you, Tae-sung said without preamble. Daiho's heart jumped. She does? We don't know why. This is highly unusual for Valorians. Tae-sung pulled up a hologram showing the station's layout. The meeting will be in the Garden Dome, neutral territory. We'll be watching from observation rooms, but the dome will be soundproof. Whatever you say to her, it's between you two." "What do I say?" Daiho asked. "How do I apologize?" "We've prepared scripts for you," another diplomat said, handing him a datapad. "Formal apologies in Valorian style. Acknowledgments of your error. Requests for forgiveness." But G1, who was standing in the corner, spoke up. He shouldn't use scripts. Everyone turned to look at her. What caught her attention was his honesty, G1 said. "The Valorians don't do honesty. They do careful, calculated communication. If he reads from a script, she know. And it won't mean anything to her. This junior diplomat has already caused enough damage," Tae-sung said coldly. "With respect, Ambassador, I disagree." G1 stepped forward. "I've been studying the recordings of the ceremony. When Daiho spoke, Princess Arya's skin showed colors that Valorians haven't displayed in public for centuries. Real, uncontrolled emotional responses. I think she's curious about what that means. About what emotions feel like." "That's speculation," Tae-sung said. "Maybe. But if we send Daiho in there with a script, we'll definitely fail. If we let him be honest, at least there's a chance." G1 looked at Daiho. "You spoke from your heart before. Do it again. Tell her the truth about why you said what you said. About how humans see beauty. About emotions." Tae-sung was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he sighed. "Fine, no script. But Daiho, understand this. If this meeting goes wrong, it's not just your career that's over. It's humanity's alliance with the most powerful species in the galaxy. Millions of lives depend on the technology and protection the Valorians could provide." "I understand," Daiho said, though his voice shook. "Good. The meeting is in 1 hour. Don't make this worse." As Daiho walked toward the garden dome, his hands were shaking. He kept thinking about what G1 had said. Just be honest. Just tell the truth. But the truth was complicated. The truth was that he had seen an alien princess for 3 seconds and felt something he had never felt before. Something overwhelming and impossible to explain. How could he tell her that without making everything even worse? The doors to the garden dome opened in front of him. Inside, surrounded by earth plants and Valorian crystal formations, Princess Arya waited. Her skin was a neutral silver blue now, perfectly controlled. But when she saw him, just for a moment, a flash of pink crossed her shoulder before she suppressed it. Daiho took a deep breath and walked inside. The doors closed behind him with a soft hiss, sealing them in together. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Princess Arya stood near a cluster of blue flowers from Earth, her skin at perfect neutral silver. Daiho stayed by the door, his heart pounding so hard he thought she might hear it. "Come closer," Arya said. Her voice through the translator was smooth and emotionless. "I cannot speak with you from across the room." Daiho walked forward until he was a few feet away from her. Up close, she was even more striking than she had been in the hall. He could see the way the light moved under her skin, like stars flowing through water. "Why did you say what you said?" Arya asked, her large eyes fixed on his face. Was it meant as an insult? A strategy to disrupt the summit? "No," Daiho said quickly. "It wasn't either of those things. I didn't mean to insult you at all." "Then explain." Her skin stayed that calm silver, but Daiho thought he saw a tiny flicker of gold near her wrist. "In my culture, what you said was deeply shameful. You admitted I made you lose control. You suggested I am undisciplined. In my culture, it's completely different." Daiho took a breath, remembering G1's advice. Just be honest. When humans see something beautiful, we celebrate it. Acknowledging beauty isn't admitting weakness. It's recognizing excellence. It's appreciating something wonderful. Arya tilted her head slightly. You find disorder wonderful? Emotions aren't disorder. They're part of being alive. Dai-Ho struggled to find the right words. When I saw you, I was moved. That's what humans call it when something touches our hearts, makes us feel deeply. You moved me because your grace was perfect. Because the way light flows across your skin is like art. Because in that moment, you were the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. For the first time, Arya's skin shifted. A warm gold color spread across her shoulders, then disappeared as she controlled it. What does it feel like? To be moved? Dai-Ho blinked. He hadn't expected that question. It feels like your chest gets tight, but in a good way. Like everything else in the world stops mattering, except this one thing you're seeing. It's overwhelming, but also wonderful. Overwhelming, Arya repeated. We are taught that being overwhelmed is failure. Loss of control is weakness. Maybe it's not weakness. Maybe it's just being alive. Arya was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I would like to understand this. Being alive in the way you mean. That was how the first conversation ended. But it wasn't the last dot over the next week. While the official delegations argued about whether to continue the summit, Dai-Ho and Arya met in secret in the garden dome. At first, the meetings were formal and careful. But slowly, they both relaxed. Arya asked questions Dai-Ho had never expected. What did music feel like to humans? Why did they cry when they were sad? What was laughter? She listened to his explanations with intense focus, her skin occasionally flickering with colors she quickly suppressed. Dai-Ho learned about Valorian culture in return. How they had decided thousands of years ago that emotions cause wars and suffering. How they had trained themselves, generation by generation, to feel less and less. How they had built a perfect society where everyone moved in harmony, where there was no conflict because there was no passion. But don't you miss it? Dai-Ho asked during their fourth meeting. The feeling of joy when something good happens? The excitement of discovering something new? You cannot miss what you never had, Arya said. But her skin flickered with a deep blue that Dai-Ho was learning meant sadness or longing. He started bringing her things from the human section of the station. A music player with simple songs, images of earth art, a piece of chocolate, which she had never tasted before. When she put the chocolate in her mouth, her entire body flashed through colors like a rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, all cascading across her skin in waves. She looked down at herself in shock. I cannot control it, she said, and for the first time, Dai-Ho heard something in her voice. A tremor, emotion. That's okay, he said softly. Those colors are beautiful. She looked at him, and her skin settled into a soft pink. This color keeps appearing when I am near you. I do not know what it means. Dai-Ho's heart skipped. He knew what pink meant in human culture. Love, affection, warmth. Could it mean the same for Valorians? Maybe it means you're happy, he suggested. Happy, Arya said slowly. I learned this word in your language files. A positive emotional state. I do not think I have ever felt happy before. But when I am here with you, learning these things, I feel something. Something warm. Their conversations became longer, deeper. Arya started showing colors more freely when they were alone. She laughed for the first time, a sound that started as confusion and became something bright and genuine. Dai-Ho found himself counting the hours until their next meeting, but they were being watched. In the Valorian section, High Chancellor Vex reviewed footage of the Garden Dome meetings with growing horror. He sent urgent messages to the Valorian Emperor. The princess was compromised, contaminated. She needed to return home immediately for emotional recalibration, a process that would basically erase her newfound ability to feel. The human section. Ambassador Taesu was equally concerned. He called Dae-ho to his office after the 5th meeting. "This has to stop," Tae-sung said. His face was tired. "The Valorians are getting ready to leave, and our government is getting impatient. We need this alliance, Dae-ho. We need their technology, their protection. There are hostile species in the Outer Rim that could destroy Earth if we're not defended." "I know," Dae-ho said. "Do you?" "Because from where I'm standing, you're playing a dangerous game. You're making an alien princess feel emotions, and that's the exact opposite of what her species values. This can only end badly. What if it doesn't have to?" Dae-ho asked. "What if we're actually building something good here? A bridge between our species?" "A bridge built on one person's feelings is not stable," Tae-sung said. "And when it collapses, it will take the alliance with it." Ji-won tried to be more supportive, but even she was worried. "I've been researching Valorian biology," she told Dae-ho. "Their emotional suppression isn't just cultural. It's partially genetic now. They've bred it into themselves over thousands of years. For Arya to feel emotions this strongly, this quickly, it might be physically painful for her, and definitely dangerous for her politically." "She says she wants to learn," Dae-ho said. "I believe that. But wanting something and being able to survive the consequences are different things." Ji-won put a hand on his shoulder. "Just be careful, both of you." During their 7th meeting, Arya told Dae-ho something that made his blood run cold. "My father is coming," she said. Her skin was a troubled purple. "The Emperor himself. He is angry that I have not returned home. He is coming to bring me back personally." "When?" Dae-ho asked. "He arrives tomorrow." Arya's colors shifted rapidly, purple to blue to gold. "He will order me to undergo recalibration. It is a process that removes the capacity for emotional response. I will forget all of this. Forget what joy feels like. Forget laughter and chocolate and music." She paused. "Forget you? Then don't go back," Dae-ho said. The words came out before he could think about them. "Stay here. Ask for asylum with the humans. I cannot abandon my people. I am their princess. I have duties, even if those duties mean losing yourself." Arya looked at him, and her skin flashed with that soft pink again. "I do not know who I am anymore. Before you, I was perfect, controlled. I knew my purpose. Now I feel things I cannot name. Want things I should not want. Is this better? Or is it just chaos?" Dae-ho stepped closer to her. "I think it's you finally getting to choose who you want to be, not who you were programmed to be." They stood there in the garden, surrounded by earth flowers and Valorian crystals. Two people from impossible different worlds who had found something neither expected. Tomorrow, the Emperor would arrive. Tomorrow, everything would change. But tonight, Arya's skin glowed with colors she had never shown before, and Dae-ho let himself hope that maybe, just maybe, this could work. The Emperor's ship arrived like a storm. It was massive, 5 times the size of any other vessel docked at Harmony Point. Black and silver, shaped like a blade, it dominated the view from every window on the station. Dae-ho watched it dock from his quarters. He hadn't slept all night. Arya had sent him a message through their private channel early this morning. Just 3 words: "Do not come." He knew what she meant. The Emperor was here. Their secret meetings were over. She was trying to protect him by keeping him away. But the thought of her facing her father alone, facing the recalibration process that would erase everything she had learned, everything she had felt, made him feel sick. Ambassador Tae-sung called an emergency meeting of all human diplomats. Everyone crowded into the briefing room, tense and worried. "The Emperor has demanded a formal summit in 3 hours," Tae-sung announced. "He wants the alliance agreement signed today. No more delays." No more complications. His eyes found Dae-ho in the crowd. And he wants you there? Specifically requested your presence. Why? Dae-ho asked. We don't know. But it's not optional. Tae-sung's face was grim. Whatever happens in that meeting, do not speak unless directly addressed. Do not look at the princess. Do not do anything that could make the situation worse. 2 hours later, Dae-ho stood in the grand hall again. It felt like a nightmare version of that first ceremony. The same space, the same setup, but everything was wrong. The Valorian delegation entered, and Dae-ho's heart sank. Princess Arya walked among them, but something was different. Her skin was a flat, lifeless gray. No colors at all. Her movements were perfectly synchronized with the others, mechanical and precise. Her eyes looked straight ahead, showing nothing. They had already started the recalibration. Or maybe she was forcing herself into perfect control. Either way, the Arya who had laughed at jokes and marveled at chocolate was gone. Behind her came the Emperor. Emperor Kale was enormous, even for a Valorian. He wore robes of pure black that seemed to absorb light. His skin was a dark, angry red that never shifted or changed. His face was hard and cold, carved from stone. When he looked at the human delegation, Dae-ho felt like he was being judged and found worthless. Humans, the Emperor said, his voice echoing through the hall. We have delayed long enough. The Valorian Empire has agreed to share technology and provide protection. In return, you will provide raw materials and labor. The alliance will proceed on these terms. Ambassador Tae-sung stepped forward carefully. Your Majesty, we are honored. But the terms you're describing were not what we discussed before. Before my daughter was contaminated by your kind. The Emperor's red color deepened. Before one of your diplomats spread his emotional weakness to the Crown Princess. Before she was corrupted. Dae-ho meant no disrespect, Tae-sung said. It was a cultural misunderstanding. Step forward, the Emperor said, and it took Dae-ho a moment to realize the command was directed at him. He walked forward on shaking legs. He could feel everyone watching him. Arya's gray, emotionless face showed no recognition. You are the one who contaminated my daughter, the Emperor said. It wasn't a question. I spoke to her, yes, Dae-ho said, keeping his voice steady. But I didn't contaminate anyone. I was honest with her. Honesty, emotions, weakness. The Emperor gestured dismissively. These are the diseases of lesser species. You infected the princess with your disorder, and now she must be cleansed. As punishment for your crime, you will witness her recalibration. You will see what your contamination has cost her. No, Arya said. The word was quiet, but it cut through the hall like a blade. Everyone turned to stare at her. Her gray skin flickered, just for a second, with gold. What did you say? The Emperor asked slowly. I said no, Father. Arya's voice was still controlled, but there was something underneath it now. Something strong. I refuse recalibration. You refuse? The Emperor's red color blazed brighter. You are the Crown Princess. You have duties, responsibilities. You do not get to refuse. I am the Crown Princess, Arya agreed, and I am choosing a different path. Her skin started to change. The gray faded away, replaced by flowing colors. Gold and pink and blue, all swirling together. She turned to face her father directly, and for the first time in Valorian history, a princess showed pure emotion in public. Dae-ho did not contaminate me. He showed me what I was missing, what our entire species has been missing. Her colors grew brighter. We have spent thousands of years training ourselves not to feel, not to want, not to dream. We call it perfection, but it is not. It is emptiness. You speak madness, the Emperor said. Emotions are weakness. They cause war, suffering, chaos. We eliminated them to become superior. We eliminated them to become numb, Arya said. I have felt joy, Father. I have laughed. I have experienced wonder and curiosity and hope. These are not weaknesses. They are what make life worth living. The hall erupted in chaos. The Valorian delegation's skin flashed angry reds and oranges. High Chancellor Vex looked like he might faint. The human delegation watched in shock, but Daeho's sister, Su Min, who had arrived that morning as part of a military advisory group, pushed her way forward. She had been studying intelligence reports, and now she spoke up loudly. She's not alone, Su Min announced. Our intelligence has discovered a growing movement in Valorian space. They call themselves chromatics, Valorians who have been secretly cultivating emotions for decades. They've been watching Princess Arya's transformation and broadcasting their support across her empire. The Emperor turned to Su Min. You lie, I don't. Su Min activated a hologram. Images appeared showing Valorians all over their empire, their skin showing colors, their movements uncontrolled. There are millions of them. They've been hiding, afraid. But when they saw their princess choose emotion over suppression, they found courage. This is a rebellion, High Chancellor Vex said, his colors alarmed. Your Majesty, we must return home immediately. Restore order. There will be no order to restore, a new voice said. Everyone turned to see a Valorian they didn't recognize walking into the hall. Her skin was a brilliant rainbow, colors flowing freely. Behind her came a dozen more Valorians, all showing emotions openly. I am Nyx, the newcomer said, leader of the Chromatics, and we are done hiding. She looked at Princess Arya with respect. You gave us courage, Princess. Now let us stand with you. The Emperor looked around the hall, at his daughter showing colors he hadn't seen in centuries, at the rebels declaring themselves, at the humans watching this all unfold. If you proceed with this rebellion, he said to Arya, his voice cold, I will have no choice but to declare war. On the Chromatics, on the humans who corrupted you, on anyone who supports this madness. Then you will be at war with your own daughter, Arya said. Her skin flowed with that soft pink as she looked at Daeho. Because I will not give up what I have found. I will not forget what it means to feel. The Emperor's red color pulsed with rage. Valorian warships began moving into position around the station. Human defense fleets responded, taking defensive formations. What had started as a diplomatic summit was about to become a war. And it was all because one junior diplomat had told an alien princess she was beautiful. Harmony Point was falling apart. Alarms blared through the station. Outside the windows, Daeho could see both Valorian and human warships moving into attack positions. Inside the hall, the Emperor's delegation and the human diplomats were shouting at each other while Chromatics tried to make their voices heard over the chaos. Daeho stood frozen, watching Princess Arya face down her father. Her skin glowed with defiant colors, but he could see fear flickering there too. She had made her choice, but now both their species were about to pay for it with blood. Enough. The Emperor's voice boomed through the hall. This ends now. Arya, you will submit to recalibration, or I will consider it an act of war against the Valorian Empire. You would go to war with your own daughter? Arya asked, her voice breaking slightly. I would go to war to save my species from chaos, the Emperor said. Emotions destroyed our people once before, thousands of years ago. Wars, madness, suffering. We nearly went extinct. I will not let that happen again. Daeho felt something break inside him. This was his fault. His words had started this. His honesty had put Arya in danger and brought two civilizations to the brink of war. If he had just kept his mouth shut in that first ceremony, None of this would be happening. But then he remembered something. An old diplomat named Ji Wu, someone who had mentored him during training. Ji Wu had told him once, "The truth might hurt in the moment, but lies destroy everything in the end. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is speak honestly when everyone else is hiding behind careful words." Da Ho took a deep breath and stepped forward. "I request permission to speak," he said loudly. Everyone turned to look at him. Ambassador Taesong's face went white. "Daeho, no. Let him speak," the emperor said coldly. "Let the one who started this contamination defend himself." Daeho's hands were shaking, but he walked to the center of the hall. He looked at the emperor, at the angry Valorian delegation, at the worried humans, at the hopeful chromatics, and finally at Arya. Her colors pulsed with concern for him. "Your Majesty, you said emotions nearly destroyed your people once," Daeho began. "And you're right to be afraid of that. But humans had a similar time in our history. We called it the Rational Age." He could see he had the emperor's attention, so he continued. "About 300 years ago, humans decided emotions were the problem. We were fighting wars, hurting each other, making terrible decisions based on anger and fear and jealousy. So our leaders decided to create a purely logical society. They developed drugs that suppressed emotions. They raised children in facilities where feelings were trained out of them. They built a world of perfect order and control." "Then your species was wiser than I thought," the emperor said. "No, we almost destroyed ourselves," Daeho said, "because we learned something important. Emotions aren't just the bad things. Fear, anger, hate. They're also the good things. Love, joy, compassion, wonder. And more than that, they're the source of everything that makes life worth living." He gestured around the hall. "During our rational age, humans stopped creating art. Why make music if it doesn't serve a practical purpose? We stopped exploring for the sake of curiosity. Why go to the stars if there's no logical benefit? We stopped forming deep connections with each other. Why love someone when it makes you vulnerable?" "Exactly," the emperor said. "Those things are distractions from what matters. Efficiency, order, survival." "But we weren't surviving," Daeho said. "Our birth rates dropped because no one felt the desire to have children. Our innovation stopped because no one felt the passion to create. Our society was slowly dying because we had cut out the part of ourselves that wanted to live, not just exist." He turned to address both delegations now. "Emotions aren't perfect. They can hurt. They can lead us wrong. But they're also what drives us to be better. Compassion makes us help each other. Love makes us protect what matters. Hope makes us reach for more than we have. Anger at injustice makes us fight for what's right. Without emotions, we're just machines following programming." Nyx, the chromatic leader, stepped forward. "He speaks truth. I am 412 years old. I spent the first 200 years of my life in perfect emotional suppression. I was efficient, controlled, empty." Her skin flowed through warm colors. "When I first allowed myself to feel again, it was terrifying. But I would never go back. I finally felt alive." The emperor's red color pulsed. "You speak of individuals, but I think of the empire, of billions of Valorians who depend on order and stability." "With respect, Your Majesty," Daeho said, "I'm not suggesting Valorians abandon control entirely. Your species has achieved incredible things. Your discipline, your focus, your ability to think clearly in a crisis, these are strengths humans desperately need to learn. We make too many decisions based on emotion without thinking them through." He saw he had surprised the emperor, so he pressed on. "That's what this alliance could be. Not just trading technology and resources, but sharing what we each do best. Humans can teach Valorians how to feel again, how to find meaning and joy in life. Valorians can teach humans how to balance emotion with logic, how to think clearly when feelings try to overwhelm us. Imagine, Arya said, her voice growing stronger, a Valorian society that feels but also thinks, that has passion guided by wisdom, that creates art and music and literature again, but with the discipline and skill we've perfected over centuries. We wouldn't be weaker. We would be complete. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. His red color shifted slightly, and Daiho could have sworn he saw a flicker of something else. Blue, maybe? The color Arya had told him meant sadness or longing. You paint a beautiful picture, the Emperor said quietly. But it is fantasy. Emotions cannot be controlled once released. They will spread like wildfire and destroy the order we have built. Then learn from humanity's mistakes, Sumin said, stepping forward. We went too far in both directions. Full emotion led to chaos. No emotion led to emptiness. The answer is balance. And that's something both our species need to learn. The Emperor looked at his daughter. For the first time, his face showed something other than anger or coldness. Something almost like pain. Arya, he said, and his voice was softer. If I allow this, if I permit emotions back into our society, I will lose you to it. You will become something I do not recognize. No, father, Arya said, moving toward him. Her colors shifted to gentle gold and blue. You will finally get to know me. The real me. Not the perfect princess who never feels or wants or dreams, but your daughter. Someone who can tell you honestly that she loves you, not out of duty, but because she chooses to. The Emperor's skin flickered. Just for a second, that red shifted to blue. Deep, profound blue dot. It was the first emotion Daiho had seen from him. This is impossible, the Emperor said, but his voice shook. It's already happening, Nyx said. Across the Empire, chromatics are revealing themselves. Millions of us. You can go to war against us, against the humans, against your own daughter. Or you can let evolution happen. Let Valorians become whole again. The Emperor looked around the hall, at the chromatics showing their colors proudly, at the humans watching with hope, at his daughter glowing with emotions he hadn't seen on a Valorian face in centuries. Finally, he spoke. I will not approve of this, but I will not go to war over it either. He looked at Arya. You wish to explore these emotions? Very well. You will serve as ambassador to the humans. You will learn from them. And in exchange, you will teach them our discipline and focus. Father, this is not a blessing, Arya. This is a test. If this experiment in balanced emotion succeeds, perhaps there is hope for our species. If it fails, you will return and undergo recalibration. Do you accept these terms? Arya's skin flowed through a dozen colors before settling into determined gold. I accept. The Emperor turned to Ambassador Taesung. The alliance will proceed, but on new terms. A cultural exchange. You're emotional. Humans and our logical Valorians learning from each other. Building something neither of us could build alone. We accept, Taesung said, looking stunned. 6 months passed. Harmony Point was renamed Spectrum Point and expanded into a massive cultural exchange station. Daiho and Arya worked there together, along with G1, Nyx, and dozens of others from both species. Daiho watched Arya teach a group of human soldiers Valorian meditation techniques, helping them control their fear and anger in combat situations. Later, he helped her prepare a presentation for young Valorians about human art, watching her skin glow with excitement as she described paintings and sculptures. They had become partners in the truest sense, building something new together. One evening, they stood together in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Arya's skin glowed with soft pink, That color Dai-Ho had learned meant contentment and affection. Do you ever regret it? Dai-Ho asked. Choosing this path? Leaving behind everything you knew? Arya was quiet for a moment. Then she did something she had learned from humans. She smiled. I regret nothing. I have felt sadness and fear and frustration since I began this journey. But I have also felt joy and wonder and... She hesitated, her pink color deepening. Love, these experiences are worth any cost. She turned to face him fully. In my culture, we have created a new gesture, one that did not exist before. Would you like to learn it? Always, Dai-Ho said. Arya moved her hands in a flowing pattern, graceful but different from any traditional Valorian gesture. It combined their formal movements with something more open, more emotional. It means partner in color, she explained. Someone who sees all your colors and does not ask you to hide them. Someone who shows their own colors in return. That's beautiful, Dai-Ho said. You made me learn a new word, too, Arya said. Her skin rippled with that pink glow. Beautiful. A word we had no use for before. But now I understand it. You are beautiful, Dai-Ho. Your honesty, your courage, the way you see the world with wonder instead of calculation. All of it is beautiful. Dai-Ho felt his heart swell. You're still the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Even more so now that I get to see all your colors. And you can speak about it now, Arya said with that learned smile. I can, and I'm never going to stop. They stood together, looking out at the infinite stars, two people from impossible worlds who had found something that transcended both their species. Not human, not Valorian, but something new, something balanced, something beautiful. Behind them, through the windows of Spectrum Point, hundreds of humans and Valorians worked together, learned together, lived together, building a future where emotion and logic weren't enemies but partners. All because one junior diplomat had been honest enough to say what he felt. All because one princess had been brave enough to feel.